Hopefully, you guys can hear us and see us. We're okay on the inside, but if you're not on the outside, let us know in the LinkedIn chat. And welcome to the Job Scan Report. And of course, I always tell you to clarify, verify, don't just apply. It's best to have your job search to be strategic and safe, and to also be well informed. Welcome. I don't know how many of these lives we've actually done. This is the first one we've done on a Saturday. So you're probably a LinkedIn weekend warrior, or you're on YouTube. You happen to be passing by. You see the title, you see the link, press on it, and let us know that you're listening. Give us a shout and where you're from, and perhaps what are you doing on this Saturday morning? And welcome to you. And I want to welcome the, I want to say it's really kind of, this is the cast. We're missing Blue Jones, but April, I'm sorry, I did that on purpose. See, Ashley Price-Horton. How are you, ma'am?
I am doing good in my identity as Ashley.
Yes. We joke about that. That's been a joke for so long, and she's told us before that the other people who call her April, she's Ashley. She's Ashley. She's Ashley. And of course, the HR honey badger, Russ Irby. How are you, sir?
Doing outstanding. Good morning, everybody.
Yeah, there might be a delay to where you guys are seeing. You might even hear the vocal a little bit before. I think that's what I've had before in other casts. I attach myself to the Ethernet, so we're going to see if it's better if I'm connected there than without, and we're going to make it go. So hopefully, if you guys have any questions, you have any comments, feel free to put it in the chat, and we'll try to catch you and try to feature that, and we'll also try to mention that name. We see MD saying hello. He's the first one to say hello. And yeah, I guess MAABUD, I'm not exactly sure where that is, but
But
maybe he's having, maybe he's saying my Budweiser is what he's having. I don't know.
It's a
Anything
Saturday
kind of
morning.
goes. There's a Saturday morning. Russ, you got the best spot in the whole world. You're on the outside looking in, kind of, so to speak, right?
That's right. Beautiful weather here in Kansas.
Yes,
Mark,
sir.
you
It
missed the
is.
memo. It's all about the bricks today.
Yeah, that's
Ye-
it.
Yes, I did miss the memo. I'm in Chicago, so and I have a brick. My place is brick too, but it's really not conducive to be outside. So I guess
No.
I've got to bear the burden of being on the inside and warm, by the way. So let's go ahead and run through some of these topics, and not particularly in order that I put in the chat for us, but for you guys, it probably doesn't make a big deal. I definitely want to start talking about something we always end up talking about. Let's talk about recognizing the fake background check portals. And there's a long story and long tail history about that, but really, is the long term unemployment is really making those effective uneasy, and they lack patience, whether it's by the delay or it's by the fact that they don't know what's real. And so,
Hmm.
Ashley, this is kind of the one. Was that the one of the ones you brought up? Because I thought that should kind of lead off the show in this respect that people will gladly give their information for background checks to be given, and it's some of the most personal information. And of course, people should be vetting whoever's doing it way before they get to that point.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this. I myself, a few years back, before I started doing all the stuff that I do, I was a victim of that. I fell for one.
Is
And
that
my, yeah, let me tell you, a lot of what I teach, I've experienced firsthand. So I
mm,
had created a Fiverr profile to offer services to the public. And upon doing
hmm
so, I received a message from support saying you have to pass your background check. And so I went through that process of adding my information, adding my ID, bank account information, and then it hit me, oh my God, this is a scam. And so for me,
Mm,
I ran to my bank, I shut down that account, I got a new one created, money transferred,
mhm,
experience, all that stuff locked. And so I think it's really important that before you do anything, guys, before you do anything, vet, right? So like
Absolutely.
before you start going through that process, take a look at what is this tool that we're utilizing for this background check. Do some research online, do some research about the company, figure that stuff out before, because I promise you, the consequences can be so severe when you add your information and then you try to correct things later, right? You could be targeted
mhm.
for years on end. So make
Yeah.
sure you do that first. Now, Russ, do you have any ideas of like how you can differentiate between like the physical characteristics of a legitimate background check site versus a non-legitimate one?
First of all, check. Like I said, check the company.
Mhm,
Always vet, like you said. And for people, don't feel bad. Don't gut yourself if you fall for this. I can tell you, I did it when I was. It's about 5 years ago. Laid off. I was desperate, and somebody wanted to hire me, and I checked out the
mhm,
company. The company was real. The name appeared on LinkedIn. So I sent in for my background check. And like you said, address, social security number, everything. And I only
mhm,
found out right before I sent in for payroll, direct deposit stuff, but they had my information. I'm security. I've done PI work. I've been a bounty hunter. Been a police officer, and yet I fell
mhm,
for it. Because, like I
mm.
said, I didn't do my checks because I was desperate. If nothing else, use AI. Take their link, put it in there, say, hey, is this a real company? That will check for you. Call the company itself. Always vet before your personal information goes out there.
Yeah. I think that people should go through the extra measure even of when they become unemployed, freeze your credit report would be
Yes.
one of the first things you should do. It's actually one of the first things you should do if you had somebody that you love that you're close to, freeze their credit as well. That's scammers are very quick to check. They can do multiple checks at one time within minutes once they get going. So I think that's one of the things that you should do. I think Russ too. You can ask a company what company are they using for a background
Yes, you
check.
can. And they'll tell you,
So
we
you're
do. If people call us, we use validity.
mhm,
It's not a secret.
mhm.
So call the company.
Right. Right, right. And also
That's
check as a job seeker, if you're being asked for your credit report, you should check with your state if that state can actually say that you can use they can use credit reports because not all states can do that. Ashley?
Yeah, I'll say this because this is very rarely thought about. When you're freezing your credit report, if you have
Hmm.
children, freeze theirs too, because
Yeah,
a
Yes.
lot of their information has unfortunately been put on the dark web through breaches at hospitals and doctors and what have you. So while you're going through the measures of protecting yourself, protect your immediate family as well.
I leave mine frozen all the time because
yeah. I leave
if
mine
I
frozen
need to
too.
go buy a car, I'll just unfreeze it for that period of
Right.
time and then refreeze it again. There's no reason why you should ever have your credit unfrozen in today's time with all the theft going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got control of that like it's the door to your house.
Yep.
Actually, when somebody says they're through, then you shut it back down. And you could just do it through the apps. Experian has an
Yep.
app you can use. The other two, you have to create an account, go to TransUnion and Equifax. You have to actually go to the site, create an account, but just make sure you keep the passwords close by, and then go ahead and shut those down as quick as you can say hello, because those are
Yep.
your assets. Even if your credit is lousy, you don't want it to be lousy for years on end, which it could be because you're leaving it very vulnerable. Uh, are there any other things that people should do regarding their background check? Ashley, you could think of that you did that really helped Russ, either of you?
Report it. Especially if you're doing it
Mm,
on a platform like I did, which was Fiverr. But if you find yourself falling for this on Upwork or any other freelancing platform, make sure you report it to the main company so you can protect others as well.
And there
And
should be
agree.
nothing from if you get in contact and say, "Hey, let's go to WhatsApp. Well, let's go to Fiverr." Avoid it
Mhm.
like the plague.
Yep.
And as far as you know, we're talking about blocking. You can do your bank because I have mine because I got hit one. Nothing is allowed to go out of my bank more than $500 without an email to me clearing it. So
Right.
yeah, if they
I
get
had the
my
same
stuff or if
thing.
they RFID scan my card, whatever, the most I'm going to get hit for is $500, and that's it.
Yeah.
Um, so do that. I mean, it doesn't cost you anything, and so if you know you're going to make a big purchase, just call the bank and say you're going to make a big purchase, and let it be done.
Yep. Yep. Or when you're traveling, let them know that you're traveling
Yes,
and know where you're going to be traveling to. Not that they need to know your business, so to speak, but it's a safety measure so that if something comes from another country, they can be alert and say, hey, we got, you're not where you said that you were. This is a red flag
absolutely.
to us. It makes it a whole lot easier. Don't be afraid to do, you think that those things take a little bit more time and it's an inconvenience when it really these are safeguards that can save you years and lots of cash of havoc and all that.
Yes.
What are some other signs going back to the HR part where things could seem to go left in a background check? I think one, if it's and we talked about this many times on the show, if they're asking that as kind of the first thing, you kind of want to run, right? Uh, was that the case in you guys where you asked like first to give information, or was it done on the back end?
do you want to go?
Oh, now go ahead.
Okay, mine was different. I had just completed my profile and I immediately got what looked like a support notification at the top of my account saying your
Hmm.
account is frozen. You need to go through this process, right? So mine was very different. It played on urgency, it played on fear, it played on, that
Yes.
risk. But I will say this, I have also had another situation in which I applied for a contract and I got reached out to by somebody who said they were part of the hiring team. Now that's a whole different
Hmm.
story. They wanted me
Well.
to meet them on Google Meets so they could give me my offer letter, but we never did an interview. I was like, no. And not Google Meets, Google Meets chat or whatever that is, the chat feature. It's like
Hmm.
absolutely not. Scam report.
I mean, I
Yeah,
do
like
HR. It's what I
Zoom.
do for a living.
Hmm.
So I know what should be going out. It should be coming from a company, like Validity, something like that, and you can check back. Or it may come from an HR office. Again, checking that email. If it's from Morgan Delaney at gmail.com, she's not working for a company. So,
Exactly.
and like I said, and of course, it's easy to scam that now too. We've talked about that. Just $10, you go buy a domain, another maybe $25 to set it up to where you can do emails off of. Check the
Hmm.
spelling because it'll be a one letter off. But like you said, it's not that hard, and you should be able to call them. They should be able to explain things to you. It's easy to vet. I do it so much now. I even use AI. Whether it's I won't go into the different ones, but you just put it on there. Is this a real email address for this
Hmm.
company? It'll come back immediately. No, this is not. This is a created email because their real email is this.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
platform can you go a little bit more
Go
into
ahead.
depth on the platform you're using? Because I'll say this, Google has that AI feature, right? That AI
Yes.
search feature. And I have seen where it has taken a fraudulent person, a fraudulent website, and it has made it to seem as though it was legitimate. So, like, I think we got to really talk about that because a lot of people fell victim to this advertisement scam where a person pretended to be a doctor. And the AI
Mhm.
tool picked it up as that was a legitimate person.
And see, and the person might be legitimate. See, that's the problem,
They're
and that's why.
creative,
Yeah, I ask
right?
my bot, you know, do background, and if it's a person, I'll actually ask them who this is. Do they have a history? And if they have no history, then why are they in a position to be hiring?
Right.
And it'll even break down the email. Oh, this is a problem with this email. Is it a real email? Yes, that's not the question to ask. This question you ask is, does this belong to this company?
Yeah. And I'll say with
Very
that,
interesting.
just my recommendation is to take it a step further. Like use that as your first safeguard. But if it says that this is legitimate, take it a step further. Okay.
Absolutely.
If it says it's not, go with that. But if it says it is legitimate, take it a little bit further and just do a little bit extra research because I'm telling you, I have seen AI take AI created images, fake doctors, fake things, and then push it off as it being real, which is very scary, which speaks to AI
Absolutely.
manipulation as well.
And this kind of runs into a little bit about I did on my other podcast, The Voice of Job Seekers. You want to check it out? It's
Hmm.
still on iTunes, and I still do. I'm doing new episodes coming up. I did something on background checks. If you want to look up myself and Ghislaine Knopf. We talked about it a little bit more in depth, which is a good episode, and everybody should be more educated about background checks. And in fact, if you're, that might be something you can do for 10, 15 minutes, even during your job search, and also ask those questions of the company. But you should also be vetting the company as well, right? I
Absolutely.
think a lot of people still, no matter how many warnings we've given, and I've been in this space 15 years. I've written articles, podcasts, speeches, everything, national media, and how many times I've said, don't spray and pray, don't do it without vetting. I've
Hmm.
lost count, and people are still what?
Praying and
Spraying,
Doing it.
praying.
praying.
Yep.
They're still looking for shortcuts. They're still willing to
E-
go after
Easy apply,
anything
easy
that
apply,
can
easy
be.
apply, easy apply. Yeah.
Which is sad though,
Yep.
because it speaks to the desperation. So we know there's people that have gone a year plus and they're just like, you know what, I'm tired of putting in these Taylor applications and getting rejected, right? They've just gotten so tired.
Well,
And
that's in the
that's the
skill factor
tool of the
too.
devil.
Looking. Yep.
That's the
Looking
tool of
for
That's
a
the
job
devil
is a
is
skill set.
desperation. Yeah.
yeah.
And they don't have them. My buddy is very smart, VP of HR, and when he got laid off, and he sent me his resume, and I'm like, no, son. I mean, he
Mhm.
hires people for a living. That's what he does. And I was
Right.
like, your resume is 1985. It's not going to work today. And also, and he was like, okay, so do I hit this? Do I apply this? No, he didn't know why, because he hasn't applied for a job in 25 years.
Yeah.
So this
Mm.
whole new, internet, AI, easy apply, LinkedIn, he's clueless because he has no skills on it because he's never had to. And we have so many people, 4,000 people released from Block the other day. We don't know how long ago they last applied. So you got a lot of people hitting the market now that they haven't interviewed in 25 years, they haven't applied in 25 years. Their resume was last time when Moses crossed the river. It's that's the problem they have right now, and these scammers are eating it up.
Your resume has to be safe and it has to be strategic.
Yes.
1985 is neither one in most
No.
cases. And in most cases, still in 2026, it's neither one. But because you could tell, it takes you a moment. Probably for that 1985, the address was still on there, a
Yes.
physical
His
address.
was. Hmm.
There's no email, but even if you just stuck one on there, it's probably something that is not conducive for a job search that says I'm a really serious candidate or thoughtful. All kinds of things that we could go into that's not really strategic about it, but people think I'm kidding that, your resume has to be saved. And we talked about in some of
Yes.
our other episodes. I think, Ashley, you and I even talked about how, how the resume is laid out. And actually, when it's stored on the cloud, all this metadata can come up and be used to start to nail your presence
Yeah.
of where you are, and we won't go too deep into that. But people really need to. You could go to iTunes and look at the job scam podcast report podcast, and look at those episodes where I talked to Russ individually, Ashley, Jay. That's what some of our best episodes. Well, a lot of information. on making it safe has become really, it becomes gold for a lot of job seekers, and I've got a lot of great comments about it. I want to dig a little bit into what's going on in our chat. Let's see who we have here. Andrea A, good morning and preach. I love that.
Andrea,
Thank you. Thank you so much.
love her to
Rebecca
death. She's a really good person.
Rebecca Newbury, hello from Southern California.
Yep.
And so the chat is still getting up, and probably you guys' invites are going up as well. Um, what are some other things that we can do to, or advice that we can give to help people make their onboarding or even their entry into being introduced to a job or job leads more safer? I think the resume is one great place to start, and of course, we always talk about vetting the company.
So
And we go back. Go ahead, Ashley.
So I'll say this. I am one of those people where I like to go straight to the source. And so if you're
Mhm.
somebody who is considering working for like a Fortune 500 company, go to S&P 500, for example. You can see the list of S&P 500 companies, click on their company, and then find in the footer their career portion. Then you are applying straight to the source. No third
Yep.
parties, no job sites, no
Yep.
job boards, no scammy things. Just go straight to the source. Now, that will filter out some of your smaller organizations, right? Just because a
Mhm.
business isn't on that list doesn't mean they're not legitimate. I'm not on that list, okay? But it at least gives you a safeguard to say, okay, with these companies, because I'm going to their official site, their official career site, I don't have to be so scary about this hunt. I could just make sure I'm
Mhm.
on the official website. So I would say that's one of the biggest things you can do to cut down on the amount of research that you would have to do. And then secondly, if you do find a job on, let's say, a job board, go to the company's website, because sometimes what will happen is they will log jobs that were posted a long time ago and they're no longer hiring for that role. Now you've given them your information to
Mhm.
post to the job that no longer exists and you don't know what's happening with that. Um, oh, and finally, if that's okay, Russell and Mark.
Oh, take your time.
Yeah, no, go
All right.
ahead.
We talk about this so much in cyber career advancement. And then finally, if you decide to go with the recruiting firm, okay, because that's a big thing right now. We'll represent you. We'll do all these things. Pay attention to those privacy policies and data disclosure policies. What are they actually doing with your information when they're doing this? That's
Exactly.
it.
Yes. Um, I was going to say, I was just going to get a couple of other comments there in the chat that's going on. Dylan Lee, what's up? It says,
Love
love
Dylan.
leveling up others on the job hunt. Thanks for helping others on the path. Sure, that's what we do. Here's a question from Rebecca, and thanks, Rebecca, for this. This is a good one. So, do you think resumes are still effective? Is it an archaic practice, especially in the age of bots and scammers? I know, Russ, you're going to say it's absolutely still a necessary evil
Yes.
these
It's
days.
required
Um,
in many places. If you send, I mean, I don't like it. I've tried to move it, but I got voted down.
uh,
If you send in and apply to one of our jobs and a resume is not attached, HR will send out an email to you going, there's no resume. We will not move forward without your resume. And I would say
right.
it's probably about 99.9% of the jobs are going to do that. But as you say, make sure where it's going. I'm that old school guy. I used to hunt people for a living. So whatever information you give me doesn't take much. I've got a website. It costs me $10 a month. S- Send me anybody's resume, and I guarantee you, I will have almost all of your information before the end of the day. So that's why it's so important to making sure where that resume goes, that it's a true place, a real place, it's encrypted, because once I have that information, you know, I can one find you, and it just takes maybe a couple more days, and I'll have your social by that time, and maybe even your birth certificate. It doesn't that hard, and yes, it's that easy for just a resume. So that's why you need to be careful who you're sending it to, where you're sending it. Easy apply scares me to death. The only
Yeah.
time I would even use that is if it shows me who the job poster was, and then I can check them out to make sure they're legitimate before they even get my resume.
Yeah, I really agree with that, and that's every recruiter that I've talked to. You gotta do the resume. You gotta do the application. I know the whole thing about putting up the resume and inserting it and still having to fill out application, but it's sort of like wipe your feet at the door. You could come in, but you just can't come in with those shoes. Take them off. But if it says wipe your feet, you got to wipe your feet to get in the door. No different. So I don't think all of that's going to change anytime soon. It
No.
may seem a little archaic still, but archaic doesn't say anything to an employer, just like it
Nope.
doesn't say anything to a date. Are we still dating? And today, yes, we are. It's for those who are single, don't ask an old man like me. But all that to say is that there's safeguards and everybody's going to take them. I think eventually hiring will get worse.
Yeah, I
Uh,
agree.
it's going to get worse because employers, and we talked about this, Russ, in our episode a few months
Yep.
back, that you know employers
Fake
are as
applicants.
worried of fake
Yep.
applicants in the day
Hmm.
of AI bots and being able to automate. And maybe we should talk a little bit about that here because contextually, that's the reason why all these safeguards and all these hoops you feel like you got to go through. People are saying, well, you shouldn't put candidates through. Well, if we understand what's going on now, wouldn't you like to know that you're working next to a real person than an AI bot or somebody pretending to be an employee who's not? I mean, Ashley, I think you have some other things to add to that as well, right?
Yeah, so right now with all of the software that's out there, it's really hard to distinguish between what is real and what is not. It used to
Yep.
be you look at their fingers and they've got 6 fingers or it look like this or something. Now AI is just gonna continue to improve, right? It's so
Yes.
eventually our reality of what we see is going to be so skewed. And it's gonna hit more than just jobs. It's gonna hit evidence, court systems, what have you. I truly believe that. So I say that to say when you're doing interviews with a person, you have to really be paying attention to who is it that I'm interviewing with or what is it that I'm interviewing with. And don't think that this right here is going to really make a difference anymore because
Mhm.
eventually AI is going to be able to do exactly that, if not
That's why.
already.
That's why companies are bringing more and more people in. I know we do require last interview for the finalists has to be on site, and that's for that reason, because companies that have hired people without ever seeing them in live are the ones that suddenly found themselves with someone from North Korea or China from the state working in that job and having full access now to their data systems, their payroll, and everything else. Companies are going to that extra expense. You're going to have to come here. We're going to have to see you, and we're going to
Mhm.
ask you questions to make sure you are the real person.
At least once. At
Yep, at
least
least
once.
once.
If they're hiring from elsewhere. Otherwise, yeah, locally, if you're anywhere in the vicinity of 200 miles, you're going in for an interview eventually.
Yep.
And it's sort of the forethought of understanding who you're applying to. Do you really understand the dynamics of a job? Because that can also get you clipped at the beginning of somebody who's legitimately hiring. They're hiring for a real legitimate position, but since you don't know the scope, you're still asking about remote work when they require you to be in for 4 out of 5 days, and you live 200 miles away from the job. Really, I think people get surprised that they don't get even a shot at a lot of these jobs. That they need to really think about the logistics and what the logistics mean. I mean, we can go into strategy, but this is again going back to being safe. You might get a company
Yes.
and say, "Yeah, you work remote," and you go look at their site and says, "We don't do remote." You
Exactly.
didn't research, and then you get caught up in somebody else's system because they told you, oh, we're making this a special event, a special occasion, or provisions for this position because we need these now, playing on your urgency, your desperation. I mean, it's going to exploit those things in you one way or another, just don't get exploited in that kind of way.
Yeah.
This is where
So
referrals
go
and
ahead.
networking comes into play, because we talked about that. Got to be on site. They actually have to know who you are. Well, see, if someone is referred by me to where I work at, I know them. Say it's
Mhm.
Dwayne in California. I worked with him. I know him. Then there's not that scare anymore. I know it's not a bot. I know because I it's been referred to by a person. That's why I tell folks, get to know at the companies you want to apply to. Connect, network. I was just on a Zoom yesterday with somebody I connected with on LinkedIn. We met, we talked, we laughed, we had a great time. I don't have to worry about that person anymore if they apply to one of my jobs. And they're not going to have to worry about me if I do theirs, because that's what that connection is in the networking. I'm real, she's real.
Yeah, and I would
Mhm.
say this too, along with that. Sometimes people think that they can reach out to like a stranger. Like people reach out to me and they say, "Can you refer me to your network?" And I want to tell y'all something because this happens a lot in our community. People will say that you're gatekeeping because you won't do that. But I want you guys to understand something. If somebody random who you've never worked with, never had a relationship with, ask you to personally put your reputation on the line for them, you don't know who you're referring. You might
Nope.
not even be referring a real person. So protect your reputation at all costs. Because once you refer the wrong person, it can have a really bad impact on how people see you. So it's never gatekeeping. Keep that in mind. Protect yourself.
Yep.
Well, most recruiters and HR people are asking the other question. Old referrals from 1985 are not to 2026. And the reason is because they're asking the extra question. Did you ever work with this person?
Yes.
Yeah.
How
That
do you
is
know
that
them?
is the that is whether you'll find out if the gate is locked or if it's not. Most of the time it is. It is. Now there are some cases where they I think we'll get to this point to where it's we'll take any referral because we'll need somebody to manage all these AI bots that we have now. But that's a horse of another color. We'll come back to another in the future episodes of all the hiring they're going to end up doing in the next year or so. That's my opinion, but
Yep.
we won't go there. But the magic question is, did you ever work with that person? If the answer, do you know someone who has worked with that person?
There you go.
And more than likely, because I saw a study last year, I think it was, or a year before, I think it was a year before, is that uh, even though at one point it was like 80% of all these referrals were getting jobs, really it was, if you got down to it, it really was 16% in other surveys coming after because of those questions being asked. So it might vary from different, in different industries. Like in nursing, let's say, I can see that being more of a free for all because a lot of it's about license, it's about shortage. They need people. Software engineers, not so much anymore. So I think
Yep.
you need to look at your industry, be in touch with your industry, join those industry organizations, so you can really find out kind of quick if opportunities real legit or if it's a ghost job or not. That will really help. But I think those things could, knowing those things could really cut your time in half. Russ?
Yep. Well, that's just it. People are pulling triggers quick these days. Certain jobs are in demand, whether it's construction, whether it's HVAC, even
Mhm.
painting, roofing, nursing, and then not enough vetting because they're in such a hurry to bring that person on because they can go anywhere at any time, and they're just
Mhm.
accepting it if it's on the paper. And like I said, that's when it starts getting difficult, and that's when an HR person gets burned. That's when
Yeah.
the company gets burned. You just like we're talking about here. You need to take your time when you're applying. The HR professionals out there, take your time. Vet.
Yeah.
Find that.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's just so expensive and hard to go to do it again.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there's a couple of comments here. Dylan mentioned about the block layoffs, wanted us to comment about that. I think I'm going to pass on that one. As someone has asked had made a mention about it's already a horrible job market. eBay just did major layoffs this week. So many unemployed, massive competition. I get it. and it's going to continue. But I think as waves come for layoffs, waves will also eventually come for hiring. I know it doesn't make a big deal for now, but I think that's going to be a big deal later on. I think in the year,
Sure.
when there be a reveal that they'll need people. A question I will entertain though is this one. I can't see who the actual user is, or the commenter, but I'll put up on the screen. It says how should organizations reconcile their use of AI driven applicant tracking systems with mounting evidence that these tools can replicate or amplify bias? I thought I saw Rebecca's name, but I got cut off.
It's Rebecca.
But
Yeah, it's her.
okay, it's her. Okay, how should organizations reconcile their use of AI-driven applicant tracking systems with mounting evidence? These tools. I think um, I don't want to dig too deep because that digs deep on the employer end of things. I think for job seekers, they need to understand what parts of this is AI driven and what's not. I mean, what do you guys thought? I think that's really more of the question because I think people are getting it wrong. That AI is now bouncing out and discounting people. I think that's where a lot of the common thoughts are. Russ, do you have thought about that?
A AI boogeyman. I mean, I've even
Yeah.
posted about this. Companies are using the AI boogeyman not even for just for layoffs, but even applicants for it on the ATS. ATS is applicant tracking system. If you've got 16
Hmm.
employees, Sarah at the front desk is that company's applicant tracking system. She's not
Hmm.
AI. She's not disparaging. She's going through applications as they come in. She's a person. Something like Dollar General, 100 some thousand employees, probably maybe more. Yeah, they use, I forgot which one they use now. I used to work for them, but they have an ATS, and if it's a green posting, you might get 5,000 applicants for that. Is every
Hmm.
applicant going to be seen? No. Do they have a ranking process? Yes. And sorry, when you get to your 20th applicant or 50th qualified applicant, you're stopping. Is AI involved? Yes. Is AI erasing anyone? No. Do they rank them? Only if you've set it to rank. AI is garbage in, garbage out. I know I use it all the time. It only does what you tell it to do. If you haven't told it to do that, then it doesn't. I just talked to a Rippling rep yesterday. They will get it to where you want it. You tell it what you want, and that's
Hmm.
what it does. Saying ATS does this, and that's like saying people do this. Now, every person is different. It's not a people do this. ATS does nothing unless it's programmed to do it.
That's
What are your
and
thoughts?
that's coming from a current HR director, 25 years
Someone has
experience.
used over
Take that
13
as
different ATS.
yeah.
So when it
Okay.
comes to
Right.
work, when
Go
it comes
ahead.
to workday, when it comes to workday AI lawsuit, right? Because that's a really big one, right?
Mhm.
What would you say to that, right? Where there's a alleged court thing happening right now, saying that this AI did discriminate.
I will use Workday. That's what I use right now. It doesn't get rid of any of ours. If it did it for that one company, I can't say. But I know ours on every single applicant that applies to where we're at now. I have 6 different HR specialists and that cover different sectors at the college. Every single application is looked at, unless, like I say, getting into the hundreds of that kind of thing. But none of them are discounted. Nothing is automatically erased. Nothing is judged by race. In fact, we can't see race. We can't see age. We can't see any of that. That's all Title VI stuff. It's sent to some kind of clearinghouse that fills out forms for us. So
Mhm.
I think people are using the AI boogeyman when there is no boogeyman.
Yeah, yeah. How about your experience as a recruiter, Ashley? Um, you could
So
probably
I'll
even
say,
talk to about specifying like knockout questions and things like that
Mhm.
to help filter candidates.
yeah, so I'll say this. I left recruiting right when AI started to become more implemented. Like at the point when I
Mhm.
joined, AI was an add-on that you could add to your platform, right?
Hmm.
But from a
Okay.
cybersecurity standpoint, we talk about AI bias and discrimination a lot, and how important it is to conduct audits on a regular basis of your AI tools, discriminatory policies and processes and what have
Yep.
you. And it does happen in the job market too. Like, it may not happen with the company you're at, it may not happen with out of 100 companies, it might happen with 10, right? But
Hmm.
are those companies doing their due diligence to make sure that, hey, we're auditing these processes, we're correcting these processes, and we're also providing disclosures on how we're utilizing this AI in this hunting thing? I think there's a lot of secrets about how companies are utilizing it because they don't want to run the risk of lawsuits or things of that nature.
Mhm.
At one point, somebody argued me down talking about companies don't use AI for their hiring process. I can't
Yes, they
tell you
do.
how many people argued me down who were like, I've been doing this for 20 plus years. And it's like, bruh, there's no way we can have a lawsuit. There's no way we can have add ons if companies are
Right.
utilizing AI. It doesn't make sense. So I will say this to say, it's going to be the responsibility of the company to ensure that their AI processes are addressing discrimination and bias. And if they're using a third party, they have to do their due diligence in conducting how is this AI company handling these situations. Otherwise, they can become responsible for the outcome.
And that's why it's sort of like proving that there's age discrimination. You've got to be doggone sure and have some really good evidence that somebody's being discriminated because of their age, because it's very hard to prove that. And it's very
Yes, it
rare to be
is.
able to prove that. And it's the same way with AI. You've got to be doggone sure that AI is actually, you're saying that AI is making a mindless decision without your vetting, which is going to make it more possible to get going back to the fake employee, the fake job candidate, right? So we're talking about, can AI detect AI? It can, but humans have to be in there to make sure that there are other things follow, like law compliance and company policy, anti-discrimination laws where they may apply, and all those things. There's a whole other process we talk about. Now, small companies, we're not speaking to those. We're
Yeah.
not talking about the guy who has a company with 8 employees. Of course, he's not going to use ATS to why in the world would he? Unless, of course, he's getting hundreds of applications, but a lot of them aren't doing. They're barely. Most of them are trying just to get by. So I think that more people, if they're informed about the hiring process, then they can become a little bit more vigilant, or actually a lot more vigilant about who's fake and who's not. Because if they're trying to hire you quick and it's a big company, big companies don't act that way, which kind of
It's
speaks to
good.
behaviors. Go
It's
ahead,
good faith
Russ.
effort. And going back to what Ash was talking about, the lawsuit is going to be hard. Because say
Yeah.
if you've got someone like me, I'm going to show that we made a good faith effort that this didn't happen. I'm going to
Mhm.
show, okay, these were our applicants. These ones were from protected class. We had it open for this amount of time to make sure we had this amount of people that applied or could
Mhm.
apply. This is what we broadcast it to, which are job boards that anyone can access. So that's all the government is looking for. Did I make a good faith effort to try to make sure there was no discrimination? Now, if the AI
Mhm.
discriminated, don't know. Like you said, proving that, ouch. Because if it comes back to my paperwork, I'm going to show I made a good faith effort not to. At that point in time, the government just walks away,
Yeah.
and it's a hard burden of proof on that person at that point in time.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great point. Kristen brings up a point. She says, if I was in the job market right now, I would be mailing resumes directly to the company or anyone I knew there. Skip the AI. It's not appropriate for judging character. Um, you're not necessarily skipping the AI if you're mailing it directly to the company, because AI is not
Nope.
making the final decision. And in fact, if you really want to get down to the whole science of the thing, AI is doing more than just counting widgets and counting people and discerning who's hireable, who's not. They're also looking at behavior. They want to study, some companies want to study what kind of people are applying to these positions. So they may use the data from the AI to discern that. There's all other things that they may want to try to study to try to make positions better, to make their culture better. Is that, am I on the right track here, Russ?
Yeah, I'm gonna get beat up for this. I don't care.
Okay, yeah,
If
go
I
ahead.
got that resume in the mail, unless it's for a high level position, I'm not even gonna look at it
Uh-huh,
because it's gonna have to apply anyway. I have got to have you in our system to move you to that next level. All
right.
right, because say I have 1,000 people apply, I don't have time to open 1,000 resumes that aren't even in my system because I've also
Mm,
got to go to my system and do it. Um, so I'll be honest with you, I'm not even going to look at that resume because I don't. Because if I do that one, then I have to do them all, or I am being biased. Because maybe I looked at. They're going to say, "Well, I seen their name and it was Gonzalez, so I'm being biased because they may be Hispanic." Uh-uh. I'm going to my ATS. I'm getting applications from there because those are the people that applied. On my website, it says apply here. So first of all, you didn't follow directions in the first place. I'm not even looking at that resume at that point in time.
yeah, that's kind of
Yeah,
like your first test to see if you follow instruction, right? So if you can't
yeah.
follow that's something basic. What makes you think you can follow the directives that we need to push here? Go ahead,
Same with
Ashley.
me. Like I hire contractors from time to time, and
Uh-huh.
I would get personally frustrated if I get emails with resumes sent to me directly. I'm like, wait a second, I didn't say send it to me here. So now I think you done hunted me down, you done tracked me down. I don't know if this resume you sent me is filled with viruses and you want to just take my systems down. So I won't even open it. I won't even
Mhm.
open it. And if it comes to my address in the mail, then I might actually respond very differently and not in a good way. But with that being said, though, if you're doing
Mhm.
that with a smaller company, your mom and pop shops and what have you, they may really
Yep.
appreciate you sending that resume like that. And it might be a godsend for them. But keep in mind that with larger companies, they have policies in place for how they handle hiring to avoid potential lawsuits. So don't put them in a predicament where they could potentially be in a lawsuit because you wanted them to have a special treatment towards you. Just something to think about.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's important because with people not verifying information without them knowing what we're telling them, if it seemed too easy, that's the part that is too good to be true, right? Yeah, I
Exactly.
mean, if you could just do it, we're going to forget what we usually do. We're going to do it this way. It should be suspicious, especially when it's from and how many people you're in a small college, right, Russ? I mean, can
Yep.
you imagine if it was NVIDIA or IBM where people get or Microsoft where there are far many more employees they'll hire for. They might be hiring more than that in the population of your campus, right?
See, I've
So
worked at Lowe's, Sodexo, Dollar General. Those companies that have
uh-huh,
hundreds of thousands of workers. So
right.
exactly, you can't. You just can't. There are systems in place for a reason.
Yep. Yep. And so that goes on to the discussion about scammer behavior and understanding what they are playing on. And we've talked about it at nauseum. But again, we've alluded to in this episode the fact that the urgent cry will make it, we're doing it this one exclusive time. This is special. We need it now. We give you generous pay. We'll give you generous PTO. We give you the flex time that you need. All those things speak to largely people's desperation.
Yeah.
Yes.
And a situation
So
happens at the
go
company.
ahead.
Yeah, a situation happens at the company with that employee, and then we want to go back and do our research on, well, what was it about this candidate that made us decide to hire them? And then we look and see this candidate never applied. They actually just sent their resume in the mail, no formal application, no interview. We just brought them on, no calling references. Like this stuff can get get real tricky. And so it
Yeah.
sounds so good when you get an offer from a company that says, "Oh no, we don't need to check your background." But that's usually how the scam starts because you feel
Yeah.
relieved. But
Yeah.
that's usually
Yeah.
the scam. A Dollar General, what have you, whatever company, a large Fortune 500 company is very rarely going to hire you without some kind of formal process in place.
Not
Right.
unless
Right.
you're senior. I can tell you I got a job at Dollar General without having an application. They actually reached out and called me and said, "Hey, will you apply for this job in South Boston? We need you here. You've got reputation, background yet." When I went to corporate to meet the VP of HR, actually an admin tapped me on the shoulder on my way out and says, "Mr. Irby, could you apply? You've got to be in our system because we can't add you to payroll. So you're going to have to
Mhm.
apply at some point in time
Yes.
anyway." And they were embarrassed because they had already given me a job and I never applied for the job. But
Hmm.
like I said, so can it happen? Yes. Is it the norm? No. And most companies, and even then, I still had to apply.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. And most people don't think that ATS on the basic level is a database, which
Yeah.
Yes.
it actually is. It's as basic as that. There might be other filters that are being used along the way, but all that to be said, that's why when you get these very fast tracked uh, position offers that want to do that, unless you
Yeah.
faced a human at some point, and even at that, you got to kind of still vet that human. It's not going to be something that you want to rush in right away because you've got to protect your own safety. You may even need to say something out loud. Say, "Hey, I just want to make sure you're not a scammer." And usually that's when a lot of them will start to run. But I think that that's showing diligence, and it's showing that you really care about yourself, and then therefore if you communicate that, they'll see that you'll care about the company.
Do your due
I
diligence.
mean,
That
yeah.
one I'm playing with now, that looks like a real company. It
Mhm.
looks like it's in Kansas, but yet the corporate office is in the UK, and not a single employee is from the UK. You look at it, all
Mhm.
their executive recruiters just started in January of 2026, but suppose the company's 5 years old. There's red flags. The
Mhm.
recruiter that actually reached out to me when I looked at it, she actually won an Emmy for the Bold and the Beautiful and General Hospital. It's a
Oh.
faked person, but it sounds real, and she's on, and that picture is with that name on that website.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
if you looked at it, you're like, oh yes, the company's real. Yes, they have a license. It's a licensed company. It looks real, but there's other things that deeper. Especially, this is your money. This is your future. This is your children's future. You would spend more time betting what you're going to binge on Netflix than you would on
Mhm.
your future. That doesn't make sense to me.
And it's
Right.
scary because
No,
AI
it shouldn't.
would see that company, and then you ask, "Hey, is this a legitimate company?" And you run the risk that your AI tool is going to say yes. And here's their website. And here's this
Yep.
person, that person. It's very scary times, y'all. You've really, if you did not like doing due diligence before, you better fall in love with it now.
My chatbot did say this was a real company, but then I put in there,
Interesting.
this is what else I found, this is what else I found, this is what else I found. Then it said, oh, oh yes, this is sketchy, this is red flags. So suddenly it changed when it had more information. Like I said, garbage in, garbage out. For functionary check, yes, Russ, this is a real company. This is where their license is. Added the others. Oh no, don't do that.
Yeah, there's never a time when common sense and critical thinking are going to be more important to the job search process, and especially in
Yes.
remaining safe. Because, I mean, to apply those things on a regular basis is going to be must, because our propensity is we want to do something that takes no brain power that we can put on automatic, and we don't mind pressing the apply button 1,000 times and not getting results as long as that one comes through, which means that probably out of the 1,000, there might be 10 or 20 that you applied. That job really doesn't exist. And we're not talking the fact of ghost jobs, which we didn't talk about, but we did talk about, because ghost jobs are legitimate jobs. It's just not hiring right now, but they're right next to
Exactly.
the fake jobs, which people are still getting wrong on many on LinkedIn. They're calling ghost jobs fake jobs. They're not necessarily fake. They're just not applying. They're not going to put your application through right away, which that's a whole nother thing we don't talk about this episode. But all that to say is that, there's the fact that, some of this is just really common sense, but our propensities kind of override that uh, for the sake of trying to get the next opportunity, which really it says a lot about people being conscious about their careers before they leave that next job, doesn't it?
Yep.
It really does. And I think that people don't think hard enough after you've been a year in. It's kind of got to think, okay, where are the branches to this tree? And where's my next route? And you really should be thinking about that as you apply, as you ask questions during the interview. But those questions are something that could be answered, but if they couldn't be answered, you can start asking questions. But that's just good behavior on part of job seekers. Scammers are trying to get you through the door pretty quick, which is reason why we went
Yes.
through this whole thing. It's not something that's quick, and these are the reasons why. So I hope you bookmark it and check out the YouTube channel if you and bookmark that as well. Um, we're coming down to the last few minutes. Anything final you guys want to add? Any tips or anything that you've seen that people need to be aware of for right now? Ashley, I'll start with you.
Okay. I would say a couple of things. Number one, if you don't already, build your emergency fund and your savings. And
Mhm.
if you have been let go and you're seeing it dwindle, do things to replenish it if possible. I know this is not possible for everybody, but for those who can, do DoorDash, do Uber Eats, gig work. Do the things that can help you to bring in money now so you can keep the lights on. Apply for government assistance if you qualify and you need it,
Mhm.
because this will enable you to not make desperate decisions. And we've all
Mhm.
talked to you guys about how we have taken them in the past and we fell victim to scams as well. So it's not
Yep.
judgment,
Mhm.
it's to say protect yourself. So keep that money flowing in as much as possible, and it doesn't have to come from a 9 to 5 job. While applying, try to go straight to the main website. S&P 500, Dow Jones, all of these big stocks, they have a list of companies that you can apply directly there where possible. Never, ever, ever. Well, don't. I would not recommend using Easy Apply on LinkedIn. I would recommend going straight to the company's website if it is legitimate.
Yeah.
We talk a lot about this and why there's a lot of risks that come with using that easy apply button. So be careful with that. Do your due diligence if you're going to do that. Those will be my big tips, and pay attention to AI interviews. Okay. Anything that says we're going to have you record your video and we're going to analyze your video and you're going to talk to an AI person. You don't
Mhm.
know if the company is legitimate. So be very careful in your interviewing and hiring process.
Do
Absolutely,
not
Russ.
pay companies, AI companies, to apply for you. We've talked about this before. It's easy. Oh, I'm just putting my resume. I'm paying this company. It applies to 1,000 jobs a day for me. There's reasons why there are fake jobs up there. It does not know a fake job from a real. It'll apply, and your resume is going out to fake companies who are data mining. The ones that I talked about. If I got your resume, I got you, and I'm selling it, or I'm using it to take your ID. If you're using companies to apply for you, and it's these AI companies, just go ahead and turn your children over to anybody that comes by that says they'll watch them.
Right.
You're basically doing the same thing. Stop
Mhm.
doing that.
Yep. I'm going to add beware of reverse recruiting, folks. Now, there's two kind of scammers on some ends to me. There's two layer. One are the people who really want your personal information. There's the others that are trying, they say to try to help. They might be sincere in the feeling like they can help, but I'm going to say beware of it. And the first one I mentioned, as far as the fake reverse recruiters, they want all the access they possibly can, and basically they want the straight shot to your personal information as straight a shot they possibly can. You need to look out for those folks and avoid them. Of course, again, vet everything you see, vet every person that comes across that says they can make something easier for you or not. Vet the ones who, I mean, vet everybody. Unless you've known them personally and you've interacted and you've seen the integrity of their work, vet them, be skeptical first, and then be
Absolutely.
reassured later. Is probably, and we could probably go on and on and on. But we usually, as a cast, we're also in the chat as well as we have time during the day. These guys are giving up an hour of their Saturday, so they're going to scurry out of here. But yeah, keep putting your questions in the chat. I know I'll be going through them this weekend and including today. So continue to do that. In the meantime, we're going to sign off. Thank you very much, Ashley and Russ. Jay, we got you in spirit. Jay Jones, of course, one of our cast members, is doing something else. I'm doing something else very productive.
Things started to blink on
So
it.
we thank
Thank
y'all.
y'all for being
And
there.
as I always say, clarify, verify. Don't just apply. Your job search needs to be safe and strategic and be well informed. Thanks a lot for joining us here on the Job Scam Report. We're out.
Thank y'all.
Great show.
It says we're
Fantastic
still
show.
live. Are we still live?
It still might be live. You know, not like we got secrets. And be well informed. Thanks a lot. It's not that we're telling industry secrets around the back, right?
Okay,
I
we're not.
think we're not live. Yeah, it takes a few minutes to get on, and it takes a moment or two to get off. It's like, woo! So great show.
I know. I said that was really, really good.
Yeah,
That was
that was
good.
fantastic. We went somewhere, but that was based on comments. And so that's why I said I'll put a skeleton outline out there, but we may end up somewhere else. I think it's very important. People really need to hear what goes on in the background. That is a well thought out, layered process. A lot of bureaucracy, maybe, but all in all, it's great show. So looking forward to presenting that in different segments. On the podcast, the last one we did, I released them in little spots, like 10 minutes here, 8 minutes here, 15, 16 minutes here instead of the whole thing. The whole thing is already out there. So I said, if I list the audio that way, it can get a long shelf life and people can use those specific episodes as reference. So
Oh, smart.
great.
Okay. Excellent.
Yeah. So
It looks like we're
thank you.
still live.
You
And it looks
know,
like
I,
it's me.
I can kind of live with that, but let me see if I could get a shut off again.
Because I'm looking on